everybody and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. Today is super exciting because I am joined by a special guest. Hey! Ta-da! Some of you may recognise Jessica. We filmed a video way back when.
Yes, ridiculously way back when.
In 2017. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jessica Kelgren-Fozard. I make YouTube videos that are about disability, chronic illness and LGBTQ+ stuff. It's the kind of fun, educational, but also very amusing way.
But some of you may also know Jessica from following her on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. You are absolutely amazing.
Oh.
I love the vibe and I love your energy and how you inject that into your videos. As I referred to the video that we did in 2017.
Yeah, gosh, 5 years ago.
So if you're interested to hear about my journey and my experience of being a parent with a disability from a wheelchair, then I'll leave that video linked down below. But this video is all about you. But also I'd really love to hear and know a lot more about your journey, how you're finding it, and I know that lots of you out there have been asking questions as well.
Yes, definitely. I think it'd be really great to chat about it now from a very different perspective. Yes. A very different place to the one that I was in last time we were talking, when it was just kind of my imagination, I guess.
So Jessica, why don't you share with us your journey? Let's start from sort of conception and pregnancy, because
my goodness,
that is completely different to sort of my journey.
Yes. We should probably first start talking about my disabilities. So I have two genetic disabilities. One's called hereditary neuropathy with liability to pressure palsies. You don't have to remember any of this. The other one's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which also has associated postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Again, not on a quiz. And all this means is that I have difficulty with the myelin sheath around my nerves, which has holes in it. So I can paralyze parts of my body for certain periods of time, and it might be very short periods of time, like I might just feel like a bit of numbness in one of my fingers, say, or it might be something that both of my legs just don't work for 6 months, and then they can get better to a certain degree, and it might be they get better to the point that they were at before, or they get better to half the point that they were at before, or less. All a big unknown. And then I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is all about the connective tissue in my body. It means I dislocate things a lot and affects my organs, including my heart. And my hearing is also affected. So I struggle with hearing loss. Although, as we will talk about later, is actually a bonus in child rearing. Claudia and I actually made a video all about why being disabled makes you a better parent. And so when we decided that it was the right time for us to start trying for a baby, as a same-sex couple, obviously there was one major difficulty there. So we had to go down the going to a fertility clinic route. There's a video on my channel which covers this all particularly well, and I'm sure we'll link it in the description. But to make it brief, we had a number of tries using IUI, and then our very first try using IVF helped that lovely little Rupert.
Yay!
But we decided that Claudia should be the person to carry, and also should be the one who biologically Rupert's made from her eggs, and our future children will be as well, because just not blessed, no. And also carrying a child would be very, very difficult, and not something that my doctor thinks would be necessarily achieved. But
she had a section, right?
yeah, so she had a cesarean, which we sort of decided on for our whole family, because it was not just because he was breech, it was actually the plan from the very start.
Okay.
So then he just conveniently happened to also be breech. So we're like, oh, so
It's
you
meant to be.
also wanted this?
Yeah.
Because it was sort of what she wanted. She did not have any intention, desire to go through labour. It was very much. It was also something that we were like, we're working my health condition around an unknown.
Yeah,
is a very difficult thing. So if we put a scheduled C-section in the diary, I can stop working at a certain number of days beforehand. I can make sure I'm well rested. I can do everything I can to have help in place and to know that when she comes home from the hospital with the baby, she will be able to take her time and rest, and I will be on my top form and able to do everything I can to help her and look after this baby. Whereas if she wakes me up at 3 a.m. and says, right, we've got to go to the hospital right now, firstly, I don't know if you can even wake me up at 3 a.m. I'm heavily medicated overnight. I know people say, oh, well, with children, you just can't plan things.
Watch me.
I mean, I don't know, I'm 14 months in, it's gone well so far.
Yeah, don't underestimate disabled people.
And then anything surprising that happens on top of that is a surprise that we deal with. But for things that we can control, let's do that. It went really well, it worked perfectly for us as a family. She was very much like, okay, you know, I can do this much whilst I'm lying here, and I was like, well, I am on top form. I have been resting. And we were really lucky in that first week of having Rupert at home. Claudia's aunt came to stay with us and really helped Josh with everything.
So when she left,
yes, it was
and
just
it was
the two of
just
us and a
the
baby.
two of you, how did you find sort of the first 3 months, I feel, is life-changing, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's just, I mean, for me, it was just so, I had this little teeny tiny bundle of joy, but what do you do with it? How did you find these first 3 months?
So what we did was we'd done so much prior reading about babies, but specifically from a Montessori perspective and RIE, which is another type of parenting, and very much child-led, also very much from a developmental perspective. And one thing that we were very keen on having was to have flexible schedules. So every single week I would write out our little schedule.
Sean did that.
And print it out and put it around the house in the different rooms. And it really helped me because I just don't know what's going on most of the time. And I also have time blindness, so I don't know what time it is. Oh, okay, right. At this time of day, I'm meant to be doing this thing. I see. Right. Because a lot more of the house responsibilities fell to me in those first few months, whereas they're normally Claudia's job. The things that were probably hardest for me in the first few months of having a baby were not anything to do with having him be in our lives. The things I did find really difficult was suddenly doing the house chores that normally had been Claudia's job, like mowing the lawn. I know. What is this? So I ended up being in terrible pain.
I recently watched one of your videos on becoming a parent. Parenting, it's a whole sort of thing we're doing together. And I find being a disabled parent, you get these guilt things because you can't do as much as other people can do, or you can't do certain things because of your disability, but you have to play to your strengths and what you can, and concentrate on what you can do, not what you can't do. How did that team effort play into that?
So it's really interesting. My friend Andrea says that everyone has a word that is their trigger word, the thing that upsets you the most. If someone else said it to you, that you'd be like, oh God, I'm that. So for mine, it's useless. For someone to say that I'm useless, I'm like, oh God. And it does, it gets you, right? Ooh, ow, it hurts. And in terms of parenting, what we have found as the months have gone on is that my best parenting skills are very much based on I'm brilliant at anything to do with comfort, anything to do with educational involvement. So we read lots of books together. Language learning, he has learned many signs and words because I exclusively sign with him. Montessori materials together. But what I'm not brilliant at is household chores. Shocker. In those first few months of his birth, I was very much pushing myself to do something that I am not really built to do because I was so worried about being useless.
Oh.
And I was very much like, I don't know what else I can do. And it was very difficult until I kind of found my role, so to speak. We said from the very start that Claude was going to do all of the feeding related things and I was going to do all of the nappy changing related things. And I created a nappy changing routine. It worked, it worked so well.
So I think that's a really good example of finding the comfort in the routines and finding your thing and definitely finding how you work as a team. I think we're very similar and I was kind of getting goosebumps when you were telling me all of this because it's like a reflection of what I'm like as a mother in a way. Like Daisy and I, we would read books, we would do so much playing together and I really think that one-on-one development has really helped her, shaped her to be the little human that she is now.
And I think we have to also focus parenting on independence because firstly, it's not about pushing him to be independent. I don't ever push him to do something he isn't ready to do. All I ever do is recognize when he may be ready to do something. It's the things as well, like if you're doing a nappy change, for instance, we have moved to using a potty quite early on. So he's been using a potty now from 8 months. And
wow.
Which I know sitting. It's sort of easiest to start them when they're sitting, but they can't yet crawl. Recommended. I've got a video on that. And also doing standing changes. So whenever we change him, he stands up rather than me trying to be like, I'm gonna wrestle you to the ground.
Oh gosh.
Because he is as strong as me. We are the same level of strength. He kind of needs to be able to be a part of our family. He is part of this. We're a threesome. So he needs to be an active participant, and I as a disabled parent need to be able to have him be involved.
100%. So Daisy was very advanced in some things than maybe her peers. Like she was getting in and out of her car seat before she could talk. She could do her safety belt before any of her friends could. And I'd be shocked when they're like, her friends came and they were like, can you strap me in please? And I'm like, what? And also Daisy is just absolutely amazing. Like if I ask her to help me with things, she never ever goes, oh. She helps me so much. I'm so lucky. If I ask her to tidy her room, then we get the no.
Well, that's her space, you know.
You're right, you know, we don't have children to be our carers, but become part of the family unit and for the family unit to work.
It's even from the very smallest things, like teaching them that they need to be able to listen to us because we cannot jump to you. I cannot, with my reflexes, I cannot grab that and take it out of your hand before you put it in your mouth. I cannot run after you before you run into the road. You have to listen to my voice. You have to stop immediately. You have to take it out of your mouth and hand it back to me. And he does that now. And he's done that for months.
I have done a video on this, so I'll leave that linked. I have a whole parenting playlist, like the toddlers and commands and what I did when she ran away from me, because that's another question I get asked quite a lot.
I think building independence into your daily life is a really important part of disabled parenting. But making sure that he can cooperate with you is always going to be a much better thing.
So I think we've had an awesome chat, and I think people will pick up some really great information if they're, thinking about having a child with a chronic illness or a disability. And just to finish things off, I would love to ask you, what advice would you give anyone out there who has a disability or a chronic illness who is thinking about starting a family or has just started their family?
You know, really interestingly, you actually gave me one of the best pieces of advice, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah, about disabled parenting that really has stuck in my mind over the last 5 years, and that I repeat to other people.
Really?
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, so well done. And that is that people give you a lot of negative feedback when you talk about being a parent with a disability, because to them, parenting is the hardest thing they've ever done.
Yes.
However, if you have a disability or a chronic illness, that is likely to be the hardest thing in your life. I almost died.
The time when you were laying in a darkened
and-
room for a year because your spinal fluid
Yeah,
leaked
yeah.
into your brain, maybe?
Yeah.
Was it? Yes.
Oh no, it leaked out my body. But like this, that wasn't even the time I almost died. See what I mean? Whenever I would talk about how we wanted to be parents, people would often be like, oh really? Like, can you manage that? And I would get a lot of negativity, much more than they're like, oh wow, that's amazing. Wow, oh, I'm looking forward, you guys are gonna be great. Oh, and it was just like, oh God, wow, is it really this bad? Like, and having to look after just a tiny newborn who needs me, not even that bad. Like, at least I knew he was gonna grow up.
It will end.
Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna get better, so.
And it's a joyous occasion having a baby.
It was so
And it does
wonderful.
feel like there is a lot of...
Even the awful, sticky, hard bits of having a baby where you're like, oh God, this is really difficult. It changes every day, every week. This baby is constantly changing. There's new stuff happening all the time, but it's not as impossibly hard and difficult and awful as it's made out to be, because it's also so wonderful.
Yes. And it
So
brings you so many opportunities you'd never normally
There's
do.
so much joy that just balances it out. And I think we need to talk more about the joy and the beauty of it.
Oh, that's made me go all goosey, look.
Oh.
So lovely. That is, yes, let's do that. Let's do that in the next video.
Yes.
Yes?
Indeed.
I love that.
Go on over to my channel.
Do that. Thank you so much for coming and doing this part 2. I have been wanting to make this as soon as I found out and you were expecting. So thank you so much. And if you have enjoyed this video, I'm sure you know what to do, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye.